are going to discuss about the challenges that startups have, companies, especially when they're data-driven, and the differences between. Is it bad when I have my mobile phone in my hand? Is there some interferences in the sound? No, it's okay. So especially the differences between the United States, for example, and Germany. And we're going to discuss that issue with Jan Kennedy of the Founder Institute, with Jana Moser from Axel Springer, and with Nico Lumma from nugg.ad. And with Nora-Vanessa Wohlert from Edition F, and she'll hold the keynote. Yeah, it's your turn.
Thank you. Hello. Good morning. If I can say good morning, it's a little late maybe. I'm sorry I'm here alone today. Susanne is on another conference. That is how it is often as a founder, speaking and telling what we do. My name is Nora and I'm the co-founder of Edition F. We create the digital home for businesswomen, and today I want to share some insights I usually don't share with many people because as a founder we often don't talk about problems. Usually it's always good. But Nico asked me to share some of the biggest challenges of a life as a founder. First of all, because maybe you don't know Edition F so far, I want to tell you a little bit about what we do. 1 year ago, my co-founder Susanne and I founded Edition F because we wanted to create a destination we always wanted for ourselves. We realized that there's no place to go to for women like us, because usually female media is catering to stereotypes like fashion, beauty, diet, partnership, love, all these topics. And mostly economy media is really male-driven. So there was no real destination to go to which was taking us serious. So we wanted to create this destination, and that is Edition F. We want to inspire with opinion-driven content. We want to provide insights into companies and show job options. We want to connect people, and we want to make the business life more beautiful. That is how we do it. We have a magazine and a community. That is, we launched Edition F in May, and we started job board in 2 weeks actually, and then there's following a shop in November. So our vision is to create the #1 destination for businesswomen globally. So far we are in Germany, but that is the next step is to go to the US. And what we do is we have an integrated website, and you can also use it for sure on mobile, and we launch an app next year. And what we want to do is to cater to all these needs businesswomen got in an integrated way and individualized for every user. But that all sounds nice, but founding a startup is not always easy and nice and fun, because really often you got ups and downs every single day. I want to share some of our key learnings we made during our last year. And I guess the list could go on for ages, because you learn every single day. Last year, 1 year ago, we quit our jobs without any safety. And we started working full-time on Edition F. When Susanne and I founded Edition F, we already had a really good network, because we both worked at Gründerszene before. I was the managing editor at Gründerszene for 3 years, and I got contact to founders, I got contact to investors, and that was way easier to get the first meeting, for example. But still, I have to say, always double the time, because is always taking longer than you expect. I was really naive, and maybe that was also good, because founding it is really challenging every day, and I expected, because of our good contacts, we will get funding maybe in like 4 to 8 weeks. But it took 4 months, and just before like we went completely out of money, we got someone who said, yes, I'm giving you money. It was like really last minute. So like that is maybe the biggest key learning for us, to take more money, even if you think, because it is always taking longer. The product is taking longer, the investment discussions are taking longer. So that is really important. Always keep in mind it can take longer. The team is everything. I mean, that is also maybe clear for everyone who's an employee, because you got team members, and it is important to work with people you like. But especially as a small company, for us it was super important that we, like Susanne and I knew each other for 7 years. We worked together, and we knew about each other, that we got a similar like vision about what we want to do and how we want to work. But still, we sit down every single week and talk really intense, and it is super important that we do so. And for the team, we decided to be not like most startups and to not get 10 interns. So we got like a really small team, but they all experienced, and we can like kind of lean on them. I know from everyone in our team, it is a really good combination, and we can send them out and they can all do alone. So that is really important to us. So always think and talk to your team, and especially as a small company, think about who you really want to work with. Next. Usually, if you start a startup, you do every single day, you have so many challenges. You do finance, you do HR, we have to create content, we have to think about so many different things. So sometimes it seems you found a company, but you do a product, and sometimes you forget about your product. So always try to talk to your users, to find out what they really want, because it is super important, and without having the look to your users, you will not be successful. So sometimes, for example, for us, we created almost like a little Facebook, I'd say. And now we actually understood it is not what we need. So we really talked to our users and tried to find out what they really use on our platform, and therefore data can be really helpful with this. So always think about your product. Last but not least, actually you should definitely love your product if you found a startup, because it is ups and downs every day, and sometimes you sit there and think, oh my God, I guess we're not making it. And if you don't love your product, you will die, I guess. It's not happening. In the conclusion, I can say the last year was the best year I've ever had. So if you got an idea, don't talk about it, do it. And if you ever want to contact me, feel free to do so. Thanks.
Thank you, Nora. Yeah, obviously, to start a startup is very adventurous. Let's introduce the people, you guys, before we're starting to talk a bit deeper, just that you know who we are and why we are saying the things we are saying. Jan Kennedy, you're working for the Founders Institute, and in a talk I had with you, you told me that you are starting to help entrepreneurs before they even have an idea of what they're going to do. How does this work?
Yeah, so I represent a Silicon Valley-based accelerator program. I run it in Munich, and we start working with people that are typically employees in established companies, And they think that they want to start a company, their own business. And often they do not have an idea. Which is interesting because you think, the idea has to come, of course it does, but what our focus is actually on the person. So we analyze the person, we look for entrepreneurial DNA, we call it, and we actually have some data on this, maybe we'll talk about it later. Yeah. But we basically run them through a 14-week program that they can do part-time next to their day job. It's about 20 hours of work a week, and we help them then how to come up with good ideas that are scalable. It normally has a technology element associated with that. How to build a business around it, and then actually launch the company. So they incorporate, and they actually become founders. Only about 40% of people that start that program will actually complete it. It's a very hard course, so a lot of people figure out it's not for them. Actually, I prefer the security of my day job, and I don't want to launch. The ones that go ahead and complete it successfully and do launch, and we've now launched 1,250 startups globally, we're finding that about 89% of those are viable businesses. That means they're surviving and they're successful. 45% of those will actually go on and raise funding, with an average of about $250,000 in their first round of funding. But they're then taking the life of a founder, of an entrepreneur. So it's a very effective program in helping people make that journey from quitting your day job, or at least figuring out if you should quit your day job and pursue a business.
And the way you're finding out if a founder is a founder, it has a lot to do with data. We'll talk about this later. It's something very interesting. Okay. But let us maybe, I would like to introduce before Jana Moser as well. She was, you've been for 8 weeks now in the United States. You're working for Axel Springer as kind of consulting startups, especially in legal issues. And maybe I'm allowed to, I just want you to talk maybe a little bit about your experiences in the United States, because in the blog you have, you wrote, I entered the United States and had to disclose in 3 minutes more personal data than in Germany as a German citizen. I received 5 cold calls on my new US cell phone number, and my German credit card was misused for 2 purchases at Barnes & Nobles, and now I have to reclaim around $500. Sounds like in Germany this couldn't have happened to you. Maybe you can tell us something about your experience beside of this in the United States.
Yeah, I think these things could have happened in Europe as well, in Germany, but I think not so fast. I mean, everyone who has ever traveled to the United States, and honestly it was for me the first time, so maybe that was the reason why I was quite shocked right at the border, that I had to show the guy there my fingerprints, everything, had to make a picture of my face, what I'm doing there, and I was too honest and said I was a lawyer. That was the first problem, I think, because he was very looking seriously at me. The second time I was asked this question, I said IT manager, and that was easy. But I think all in all, I would say, especially in the United States, what was so different for me was the usage of data and how the people there are quite comfortable to disclose their data. Mm. And I think that was surprising to me, and especially when I give advice to the startups in our accelerator, I try to explain that to them as well, to say it's different to have a company here in Europe and to set up a company, and I think you're in Nora, you know that, we've discussed that before. It's so different here when you want to use the data, if it's just the data of your client, if you want to send mailings or try to contract with other companies, especially US American companies, you have to sign weird contracts, especially from the point of view of an American company, data processing agreements and all this stuff. And when you're a very small company, media company or startup, it's very difficult to understand what's behind that. And I think that was, from my point of view, one learning, that the American companies, especially the startups in the Silicon Valley, have no idea what we have to struggle with, and the companies here have to struggle with, besides the low evaluation we have here. But I think that was the main difference from my point of view.
I guess that Nico can also tell us a lot about the struggles maybe here in Germany if you have to let a startup grow that is data-driven. You're working for the accelerator of nugg.ad, and don't you sometimes maybe wish to be in the United States? Would it be easier to get a startup to grow easier than in Germany?
Yes and no. Well, I think it's really, it can be a key advantage to have good and strong data protection laws as we have here in Germany from the customer perspective. But I also think that, as you said, the valuations are usually lower here than in the US, and it's also far more complicated to get a decent round of financing. And you have to talk to a lot of people who then say, well, you know, this is not a proven business model, or they say, oh, you know, this is not enough technology, or they say it's too much technology and it's too much data and we don't understand it, and you know, we have this matrix here and how does it fit here? We can't compare it, so we have to pass. And you get that all the time, and it's really, really, sorry, fucking annoying. You know, it's because I mean they're in the industry, they're the ones who have to get an ecosystem working, and they're too reluctant to really take a risk. And I think that makes it really hard for lots of entrepreneurs to get started here in Germany. I don't think it's the data laws. I think it's the whole financing environment. But that also happens, you know, the problem is the variations and later on the whole M&A scene that, you know, you just don't get the exits that you get in the US, you know, and so therefore the VCs are much more hesitant to invest in interesting and new models.
Do you have maybe an example when you have been really fucking annoyed?
All of the time.
The last example, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, when I was with another company, we founded a startup called Stuffle, which is a smartphone-based flea market which uses data to see what products are around you. And,
I use it. It's good. Yeah,
yeah,
it works good.
Yeah, I think so. And then you get responses like, oh, you know, marketplaces have been tried so many times before. Yeah, I know. You know. Others say, oh, you know, that's a marketplace. How are you ever going to make money from it? Like, you know, this has been happening for like a couple hundred years to make money off marketplaces. Then other people say, well, you know, you have to get users on that. That's going to be complicated. Oh yes, really. I mean, but you know, those are the discussions that you have to actually deal with, and you know, then after a while you get interesting startups from the US, and of course they get funding, and they have an interesting product, but not enough technology, and you know that you have been there before, and your product is definitely better, but you just don't get off the ground here in Germany that easily, you know.
I guess that you, Nora, had experiences like Nico, I guess the last few months. And I don't know, I mean, you said you're going to the United States. Is it something, are you fleeing there? Are you like...
We're not going like tomorrow to the US, but
as soon as possible, right?
I definitely know Nico's problems because it is really funny.
Not all of them, I hope.
Not all of them, but maybe some on top, I don't know. It is super strange. I mean, on one side, like the investors in Germany want like this new things, new technologies, new ideas. But in every single pitch, every investor asks us, and what is the proof of concept from the US? Because they all want this proof of concept, and for us, actually, there's no proof of concept. And then everyone said, okay, maybe like, because we combine different things, and it's a platform, it's not just content, it's not just community, it's not just classifieds, and it's also not just commerce, it's a combination, and that is, to us, our like key advantage. But it's not learned here in Germany, because usually you got like this e-commerce website, then sometimes they're doing some content on top to do like to drive SEO, or you have like this this news website, and this is like a big challenge to us. It's definitely, if you talk to investors, like we did in January, we flew to the UK and we talked to some investors there, and they were all really excited. But the biggest problem was it is German, so so we decided we will stay in Germany with like our headquarters, the big ones. But next year we will try to internationalize really low, like with a small team going to the US. Yes.
You said you received some funding in last minute. Was it from Germany or from somewhere else?
No, it was from Germany.
Yeah.
But
so
it was
works somehow.
Yeah, but actually, if I could do it again, I would take more money, definitely, because what was also like one of our biggest faults, that we didn't take enough money to like grow and to do a proof of concept to then get the next funding, because now we in like some kind of like in between a proof of concept, because we got first traction, we got like really positive feedback from users. We almost launched the full integrated product, but we are not there, you know? Like the money we took actually only last for a couple of weeks more. I mean, now we are lucky that we found new investors, but it is...
From where?
From here, again.
Okay.
But then still, if you talk to investors in Germany, they all got, and I mean, that's probably the same in the US, every investor has its own idea. Like some people say, yes, but we have to make it really big. It has to become like a huge community. And like monetization is not important, because as soon as you got everyone on the site, you will make money. And then you got investors, and that's most investors in Germany. It is important to them that you make money, and you can prove it's like you can scale. And then you have these different sites, and sometimes as a founder, it is really hard to decide on like what way should we go. It is a really tough decision,
But is there maybe some improvement? I mean, you got your funding last minute, you got some more funding, and you guys, you are working for years now in the startup scene. Do you see maybe an improvement? I think, I mean, we started to talk about failure quite a lot in Berlin in the startup scene, that it's okay. Even the politicians, even the chancellor said in a speech last time that failure should be something accepted. Is there something changing in Germany maybe, that it's going to be easier, or is it already easier than, I don't know, 5 years ago? Maybe Jana or whoever has an answer?
You mean if it's easier to get funding, or
to get funding and to start a startup, to get people to fund it, and as an accelerator to help founders to get it going.
So what I can say is, because I normally don't give advice to companies right in the beginning, so I think that you can say more to that. But when it comes to the funding, there was a very good example yesterday. We have an accelerator as well, Axel Springer Plug and Play, a joint venture, joint venture with tech.
It's
with
also
the company.
quite new. It's I think 2 or 3 years old. It's only 2 or 3 years
old.
Yeah,
it's very young now. Yeah, it's so 2 or 3 years with Plug and Play Tech Center from Silicon Valley. And one of our companies from our very first batch, they just recently announced yesterday that they got a new funding over 2.5 million euro. And that was because we talk about more data-driven, database startups. That was a company, or that is a company called ZenMate. With their product is ZenMate, and what they do is they have a browser plugin to browse anonymously. And I think that's very impressive, because obviously that's something that works in Germany. Because we talk about privacy and all the stuff, and now they got new funding, new funding, and I think 2.5 million is for European and especially Germany's picture, and when it comes to startup, quite good. So it is possible, obviously, but I hear all the time the complaints that it's very, very difficult, especially in comparison to.
So do you see a change, Jan,
America.
Nico?
Yeah. Fail fast, right? Thanks to Lean Startup, I think there's a lot more awareness now that it's okay to fail, and you have to learn from that. But when it comes to funding sucks to start with. It's a pain in the ass for the founder, right? So, and I think you touched on it, that how you get funding is by proving that your business model works. And I think a lot of founders are also forgetting this. So we actually advise people is to bootstrap early on, and they have to, the best funding they can get is their own revenue, right? Make your business generate revenue first, and then you're proving that it works. So we are very cautious to put our graduates in front of investors. That has to be timed very well, because with investors you only get one chance.
It's not true.
No.
You can always knock again on the doors.
In
it's
Germany.
really important. Yeah.
And you also have to be
definitely.
you also have to be a pain in the ass yourself.
Right. It gets more difficult after the first
It's
time.
kind of a countermeasure.
So anyway, my point was that focus on creating revenue, and that will at least get you off to an easier start. Then it's easier to go talk to investors.
In Germany, is it different in the States? I guess that the people in the States also want to make money, but maybe they don't ask you so directly. Like in Germany, do you think you'll make a lot of money in 3 years? Nobody, I guess, in the States, that's what the people think, will ask it so directly. You have the comparison. Is there this difference as we think that it is?
Yeah, I think so. They'll take the risk. Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of bootstrapping a company is wonderful, but not all products are suitable for that. I mean, if you do have to do tech, like real tech, then you probably need some more time to develop your product, and that's exactly what VC money is for. And therefore, I think that limits the German market, and I think there's a reason for all those e-commerce startups, because that's like one of the easier ways to make money fast, because if something you sell, you can easily see whether the business model is working. But that, of course, leads to a startup scene where everybody's putting something in a box and tries to get a subscription model to send it out easily, because that's like one of the easiest way to get your customers locked in for a longer time period, which is something that you can do when you bootstrap the company or don't have a lot of funding, but that doesn't work when you really want to do tech, you know. And I think if we look at the German market, I mean, everybody is still talking about MP3. I mean, when was that developed? You know, that's a real long time ago. And if you then look at things that got developed from Germany that are really core features of the net, everybody blanks, because there's nothing happens. We do e-commerce fairly well, as we saw with Zalando, the IPO yesterday. But yeah, that's e-commerce. And if you look at the US, you have a far more diverse startup sector that where lots of great ideas get funded, and then you have all those acquisitions where a team gets acquired because of the idea, and maybe even because of the execution, but not because the product is already working, so that they earn money, but because the companies want to have those people, and that doesn't work here yet. Maybe except for Axel Springer.
Something what seems to work in the States and in Germany is the way of, you mentioned it, the way of like finding out if somebody is a founder or not. As we said before, you're also like building teams and trying to find people who are able to start a startup. Maybe you can tell us something more what you are doing to really, to start an idea.
So Founder Institute launched 5 years ago, and we developed a social...
In San Francisco, right?
In San Francisco, and in the Valley, Mountain View, actually. And we developed a social science test, working with a social science professor. And it's like a mixture of personality tests. So if you've taken the Briggs-Myers test, it's a little bit like that, and some other things thrown in. because our founder, Adeo Ressi, really wanted to explore what is the entrepreneurial DNA of a person. How can we identify what type of person is going to do well launching a startup? So now there is data has been collected over the 5 years. Founder Institute's expanded to launching this program in 80 different cities. So we've tested about 30,000 applicants, and what we're able to do is correlate the data on their test scores with how well are they progressing through the program, who drops out, who continues to the end, and even after graduation. So who's raising money, how successful and profitable is their business becoming over time, and even what sort of valuations are their businesses at. So I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but we're going to get to that point where this test is very predictive. You can take the test score, right now it has an accuracy of about 85%. You'll be able to predict, is this person going to achieve a valuation over X number of millions in the future? And that might be really interesting to help investors as well, because the common saying with investing in a business, right, is you don't invest in the idea, you invest in the people. Because an entrepreneur will very often fail and need to change a lot, so you want to be sure that that person can continue the journey.
To me, it sounds crazy to categorize people, and your aim is really like then to put them in a team together out of this data?
No, we don't put them into a team. So
no?
you typically go through the program as an individual. And then you will look to see what sort of team do you need to put together to execute.
And you're doing this in Germany too already,
yep.
right? And
yep.
it works, and it's no problem with legal issues. So in Germany it's also allowed to...
I think so.
And how much experience do you have with that in Germany? Do you have already... did you find already people and made them founders?
Yeah, definitely. So the semester's been running, I think we've done 5 or 6 semesters in Berlin, for example. I started in Munich last year, so we're currently in our 2nd semester. And we do see that people that have the higher score from this test are the ones that are going on and successfully completing the program and launching startups.
Concerning legal issues, Jana, do you see this? I mean, if you go for this the next 10 years, you have really... people categorized like in detail, and maybe then one day there's somebody, he is maybe a founder, but you say no, the data shows you're unable, whatever. I mean, is it from the legal perspective, long-term view, okay?
Of course.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not? I mean, would I be in your position?
I don't know, I see somehow maybe skeptical to
No, why not? I mean, it's just the program, it's how it works. So if I ask you to be part of the program, you accept the conditions. I mean, where's the problem? It's just the question how you do it. I mean,
okay, you've been
if
now
you
8
just
weeks in the
if
States,
you're
so
analyzing the people in the background,
adapted.
if you're analyzing the people in the background, have their cameras all the time and analyze them, I would say, okay, we have to talk about it. But if there is just a test and you have to answer questions, and at the end you will be categorized, I mean, that's obvious, that's okay.
It happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's a HR tool. Human resources do it all the time to test candidates for their suitability for certain positions. Why don't we test if you're right for entrepreneurship? And I think now we're getting to that point where we actually have enough data to make accurate correlations and predictions.
I think more interesting is in your position now, who owns this data, the insights, who is capable of what, who was very successful. Do you try to follow the guys who were successful later? Do you try to get more information about them, although they are not your clients anymore? And then you begin to set up more profiles, more detailed profiles, and that would be interesting. Then we can talk about data protection again and privacy. But I think you don't do this right now.
Do you publish the data and provide it to investors?
Do you sell them?
Not yet.
No. So there's discussions on whether we should do more with it, and that's a whole nother topic. But and it's quite simple stuff, right? So I can give you a bit of an insight. Maybe the top 3 things where we've seen a correlation with your personality and successful founders is Things like you score high on fluid intelligence rather than normal IQ. So fluid intelligence is your ability to adapt to new situations, capitalize on opportunities. Finding founders are very good at doing that. They have a high degree of openness. So they're very open to viewing world problems, considering what might work, what doesn't. They take other people's opinions into account. So on the flip side of that, if you're very stubborn, you're not going to do well as a founder, right? And then it's your level of agreeableness. How do you agree with what's going on and inputs from other people? And we're finding that has to be moderate. So not high, but not low. Moderate level of agreeableness, which means you're a level-headed kind of person. You stay cool, calm, collected. You're able to make decisions based on what's happening around you. And we're finding that, you know, the traditional sense of IQ, your level of intelligence, actually doesn't play such a strong role, and neither does conscientiousness. So, you know, this idea of working really hard and being really organized and very accurate. There's no correlation between that and successful founders.
Do you already have enough data on German and on American founders so that you can compare them?
No, I don't.
No?
I don't think that would be accurate right now.
I'd like to ask you again, Jana. 8 weeks you've been there. You returned 2 weeks ago. Now, when you look back and when you compare really the environment like for startups there and here, what's like the main difference, or what have you learned?
I think the main difference is actually the networking and the openness of the people there, how they share their ideas, what they think about, their knowledge. I mean, here sometimes I have the feeling that the people try to hide what they know. They try not to work with others together, just try to be in their environment, to stay there, and they don't really interact with others, especially not interdisciplinary, from my point of view. In the Valley, it was very different. One topic, I was there and I tried to make some researches there, was Bitcoin. And it was really amazing. I mean, with my lawyer background and my business background, with a bit knowledge about the IT part, nevertheless, they integrated me and I was just part of the community after a few weeks. I was invited to workshop. We discussed together about the different blockchain protocols. I mean, that was really amazing. Here, a lot of people have, either because I'm a woman or because I'm not part of the IT community, they've just not included me. But there it was quite natural to talk with me about my ideas, their ideas, and they listened and they shared their experience. And I think that's really a main difference I experienced that.
I have to disagree a little, especially for me. I mean, no one shared true stories with me when I was a managing editor at Gründerszene, to be honest. I mean, it was always perfect, all running perfect, for sure. But as soon as I was a founder myself and no one was like afraid I could write about it or use the information, everyone became really open. It's like amazing. Like the ecosystem, especially Berlin built during the last years, is super important for every founder. And we all share ideas, we talk to each other, we do introductions to investors, we talk about like online marketing ideas or like KPIs we share so many experiences, super important. And it's really helpful.
Is it maybe only the women in Berlin that it's like...
I mean, that actually is the same for male or female founders. I actually also see no difference between women or men founding a startup. I mean, it's always risky, it's always... you always have to do this step.
So why then... there's a necessity to do edition F? That was a question I had. I was like, okay, watching your keynote, why not? Why do we don't have an edition M male.
Definitely, you could also have an addition M, and
what
we
do you
do
think?
have male users as well. But it's definitely, to me, about the perspective. I mean, it's not about like only writing about women and how to become like a founder or like a boss or whatever. It is about many different ideas, but the take on like information and about stories is mostly different. Like women like I think many men also like these kind of stories, but for us it's like more the personal take, to talk, to do interviews, to do portraits, to let people publish articles on our website and so on. That is different, and I mean,
And
to
it's
be
necessary
honest,
to do it on an own platform, you think?
yes.
Yeah?
I mean, I always missed this actually, and for sure, we got like male or female media for like many years, and I guess there are different interests, but it's not about founding, you know. It's about like we wear different fashion, we talk about different topics sometimes, we look at different things, we also like different usability, for example. I mean, if you look at Amazon, for example, or eBay, I would say it's more like a whole like male user interface. Women like to discover and see things different, and there's no product, especially like for many e-commerce shops, it's more like a male interface, I'd say. And that is different for male and female.
Do you care for, I don't know, female interfaces when you are in your daytime work, when founders are coming? And I mean, it's my experience too. I'm always, when I'm around in the startup scene here in Berlin, it's usually male, men I'm talking to, of course. And, but of course, it's very important to have this female view too, because it is different. Do you have it somehow included in your accelerator program, that you have somebody saying, hey, we have to see it from the female perspective too?
Actually, we focus on the idea and on the fit that the idea, the business model has to the Nugget ecosystem, and then we of course look at the team.
What's the Nugget ecosystem? Maybe you can explain it.
But you have like a
if
female...
I understand it, I could explain it. Yes. No, but seriously, I don't. I think for us, it doesn't really matter whether the founder is male or female. If the product is targeted to a specific audience, then of course the product should have a specific male or female fit. I mean, like Staffel, that you mentioned. That is, of course, targeted more towards women than towards men, because women tend to browse more and have more of an explorative style when they do things, and men tend to search more and get more to the point and compare specs and then buy the one with more USB slots, where women say, oh, this fits nicely to my whatever purse, or it's really, I mean, it's. No, I mean, sorry, but this is just rough stereotypes. But it totally boils down to having different interfaces. But that is not something that we deal with first when we look at startups.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be important to have like a female investment manager, for example. I mean, that is a question we always got asked, but. I mean, we have male investors, and most men do understand our idea really easy, because, but many have to say like, yeah, that is something my wife always mentioned, or my daughter always said, or my best friend was always telling me that something like you is missing. And sometimes investors do have to think, and sometimes it is about perspective, and I think it is important to have like mixed VC teams, for example. I mean, there's like a new study from the US which is showing that mostly male investors invest in male startups, because you always look for someone who's like similar to yourself, and it is easier to understand sometimes, but I wouldn't say it's totally, yeah, I mean, it is possible to get money from men as well, but...
Just to get back on the track, big data, you told us before that data is a very, very important thing for Edition F, and that it's not easy to get this data. Maybe you can say us something about that, yeah, it's a quite sensitive issue in Germany, as we know.
Definitely. I mean, we started as a closed beta, and everyone who wanted to be part of Edition F had to create a profile. And that is something which is not that accepted in Germany as in the US, for example. I mean, many people did create a profile, but some also wrote, I'm not sure, like, I also don't know what it is all about, and so on. I mean, I can also understand these points. And then people in Germany are more sensitive with data, which is also
How do you solve this problem? I mean, what did you do?
And we opened up the platform. So now you can create a profile, but you don't have to see like the content. But as soon as you want to interact, for example, you want to comment, or you want to receive the newsletter, or you want to connect with other people, you have to create a profile. So now it's much easier to us, because people can check out the website first, see if it's necessary for them, or like helpful to be on the website, and then they create a profile. That's way easier. But as a closed community in Germany, it was really hard to us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for your insights. Thank you, Nora, Nico, Jana, and Jan. Now we have, I think, about 15 minutes more for questions. What I forgot in the beginning, the reason why I have the smartphone here is I wanted to ask you to ask your questions over Twitter, but that's over now. So now you have to do it live. So is there any questions? Yes, please. I think we need the microphone, right? Or is everybody... Yeah.
So hi, my name is Anton Klees. So we have a lawyer on stage, but we didn't talk a lot about legal kind of constitution for founding in general, because I have a personal experience that this is not easy, that some stakeholders are handling this in a special way. So there's this German word, and I don't know if there's a adequate translation, Leistungsschutzrecht. Maybe I would like to just bring in this word, and this legal issue is really important for a lot of big data founders.
What is it in German, Jana? Leistungsschutzrecht?
Yeah, that's the auxiliary copyright of the publishers. I think when it comes to this auxiliary copyright for publishers, I think this is just one question of several questions you have to take into account as a startup. Because a lot of startups have great ideas of what they're doing. The idea is very, very, very good, and it just meets maybe the requirements of what the consumer really wants to see. But on the other hand, of course, you have to comply with the current law, and the auxiliary copyright for publishers is just one of it. We talk a lot about copyright, we talk about other things when it comes to the right of the individual person, for example, to publish a picture or maybe an opinion about a person. I mean, we have a lot of platforms and ideas who publish or integrate opinions of others, how you can really, if you can recommend someone else, or for example a doctor or a lawyer or all this stuff. We have all these things and a lot of regulation about that and regarding these topics and ideas. And the copyright question is one idea which is obviously very important now, and we discussed that a lot in the current news, and I think everyone knows that. But it's just one part of it, and a lot of startups forget that they have to take the legal aspects into account right at the beginning, because otherwise they have a problem. They maybe began to pitch to an investor, and then they will ask, okay, what's about this strange law in Germany? I've heard about it. Do you have a problem with it? Otherwise, I won't invest in you. And if you haven't taken this into account, you have definitely a problem in the future. And that's the reason why it's so important, not only regarding the copyright, but especially when it comes to data and big data and all the things, that you take privacy by design, privacy by default, really into account, especially regarding the IT infrastructure you set up. Otherwise, it's very, very expensive to change everything you've built up right in the beginning.
I guess you have to spend more money in Germany to care for those issues than in...
I think it's not very complicated. You just have to take it into account right at the beginning. Otherwise, it will definitely be a problem. And then the question will come, can I go to the United States and my problems are solved? And I would say, yes, you can do that, but you shouldn't address then Europeans or Germans.
Yeah, yeah. Any more questions? Here in the front. The mic is coming.
Yeah, Stefan here. I did just a count on our program, so we will have founders presenting in the afternoon, and I'm totally amazed that I found out that one woman will present as a founder, which is an increase by 1,000% or so compared to last data days where there was 0. So it's 12% of the presenting founders are female. And I must say, I'm tired of creating these male-dominated things. You know, it's really stupid in many dimensions. By the way, there are also good studies that creativity, innovation is worse. You know, if you have a non-diverse team with regards to gender, for example. But I have a very concrete question, Jan, I guess to you, because you said you're doing this in this survey, you know, on founder score kind of thing. My question is, did you care about that? So did you check that for gender effects, or to put it even in simpler words, does the survey produce male founders, or is it what is the outcome when it comes to that?
Okay, that's very interesting. I can't say whether it's yet predicting that males are more likely to be successful or females are more likely. I think the only thing I can say is that about 1 year ago, we found out that the application rate of females was 15%, 15%. And we're like, okay, that's too low. Why can't we get more females into the program? So we started offering a female founder scholarship. To encourage more females to apply, and now it's up to 35%. One thing I can say, but I can't back it up with any data, is that definitely females perform very well in the program. And you could even go as far as saying many situations, yeah, they can end up being the better founder. But that's just my personal opinion.
That's something you can quote in edition F now. There was one more question in the middle of the audience. And Nan has also a question, I can see.
Hi. So first of all, this was a very interesting discussion for me, so thank you all for this. I found the term entrepreneur DNA very interesting, and I can see why it's grounded in reality and how it works. For me, it sounds like maybe it's the term, but it's kind of deterministic, so either you have it or you don't. Do you have some experience with boosting it or coaching it, and how does it perform as to people who are like given it? And can you name a couple of others? Like I heard something like moderate level of agreement. So can you give us some other ones just to point
Sorry,
out?
what was the last bit?
Like one of the things on a universal level that described this DNA, independent of the idea that is to be founded. One was moderate level of agreement.
Oh, right.
So can you give us a couple of other ones with that?
Okay, so it's a very good point. It's this argument between, is an entrepreneur born or is he or she made, right? And I think, yes, some people are born to be entrepreneurs. Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, right? These guys that really go for it from day one as children. But I don't agree it's one or the other. What we're finding is, and when we refer to entrepreneurial DNA, maybe DNA is a bad word to use because it does say it's ingrained, you can't change your DNA. Let's call it entrepreneurial characteristics. And to some extent, you can train characteristics, right? So as long as you have a baseline of this entrepreneurial characteristics, you can definitely boost it, right? And that's where the training programs come into play to accelerate performance. And that's really what we're doing is, and actually I can say that with the test, we're actually finding out that people are performing better than how the test has originally predicted their performance to be. So that means the training program itself is actually working well in spurring on their skills to go and found businesses, if that makes sense. More examples. No, I won't go into it now, but just Google. That it's being covered by Forbes and CNN, I believe, and Business Week, magazines like that. So there's a whole bunch of articles online that goes into more details of all the different traits.
There was one more question, Nan, I would like to hear it.
Hi, thank you. It was really, really interesting, and I love to see Edition F, and definitely as a team of women founder, we are always looking for the North Star. As startup, you're always looking for a North Star, something you can orientate yourself on, and it's too rare that we find a team of women who could be our North Star. So I'm really glad to hear about this. And my question's actually addressing to Jan, and I was wondering, do you think there's a placebo effect that that once you are more successful, you get further in the program, and then you also feel more confident and also attract more people, or more trust?
But the program would attract more people? Yeah, I think that's the same with anything. It's building a brand, it's building an image. So now, a few months ago, we were able to say we've now graduated 1,000 companies. That was a big milestone. If I can tell people that, then rather than, hey, we've just started and we think we can do this, people might not believe you. But I don't think it's a placebo effect in terms of the person that gets into the program. They do need to work very hard. And like I said, only 40%, sometimes even less, make it to the end. So week for week, they are being pushed really hard. They're meeting with mentors every week. They're holding themselves accountable in their own groups as well. And if they underperform from week to week, and they, for example, don't do the work we've asked them to do, or it's not at the standard we required it to be, we will kick them out of the program. It's not very often that we need to do that. Most people will actually just drop themselves. But what it means, you're left with a very strong cohort in the end. And what's also interesting is they actually share in each other's equity. So we take 3.5% equity if you graduate, and that gets shared into a bonus pool. And part of that bonus pool is shared between the other people that graduated with you, right? So it comes back to this idea of an ecosystem, a community. You're now part of this community of founders globally, but also the group that you graduated with, you're a shareholder in that person's company. So even if you fail, and they succeed in the future, they have a liquidity event, you'll get a check in the post. So you share in other people's success. And that's why we push these cohorts through the program and filter out, the stronger ones. And they help each other make it happen.
I can see that we have no time more. Do we have more time for one more question? I'd like to do one more question here. The guy at the wall. The last question.
Yes, I wanted to add something rather than asking a question. It was of special interest to me what Jan said about selecting founders on their personality. For one reason, because the product that we distribute does exactly that, right? We generate personality data and we distribute and market the results that we gather. We just finished a study with the Turkish foundation.
Can you say who is we?
Masin Schäfer and Company.
Okay.
Probably not known to you. It's not a startup anymore, okay. But we are more in the B2B environment. And there's one thing that you said, Jan, which I disagree. It's super difficult to change personality, as you know, right? We express or the test that we use expresses itself on the dimensions of Carl Gustav Jung, as many others do, MBTI, etc. And if there is a person who is very extroverted, it's super difficult for him to change his character. If someone is very intuitive and has no sensing dimension, super difficult to change that. So I would say, rather than putting a lot of effort in changing someone's personality, one should better look for other team members who have a qualification that I don't have, and as a team then you can kind of generate the skills and the habits that you need in order to successfully start a company.
Yeah, maybe I miscommunicated that. I didn't mean that we want to change people's traits. I'm saying it's better to take people that have those traits already because they're more entrepreneurial inclined, and then it's more about training the skills of entrepreneurship, right? And then this is where you see those traits get boosted even further. But I totally agree.
By the way, when it comes to how many, the Turkish project was about having a foundation which kind of supports Turkish students in order to become founders. And there were about 40,000 applicants, and there was a quite high amount of women applying. And that you wouldn't suspect if you have Turkey in mind, but Turkey is really far ahead when it comes to having women get involved into startup companies, etc. So I, for myself, had other stereotypes in my head before we did the study.
Okay.
Thank you. We ran out of time. Thank you very much for this panel. It was a pleasure to moderate it. Thank you for your question. Thanks.